But there was something about the words of Simon Harris this morning, the Irish Taoiseach, as he and two other, well, all three leaders of the coalition government in Ireland held a press conference at government buildings in Dublin to announce that Ireland intends to officially recognise a Palestinian state. Norway and Spain have made an identical move today. 8 EU member states already recognise Palestinian statehood. I wonder whether you knew that, the most recent being Sweden in 2014. So it's fair to say, been somewhat stalled in recent years. And the potentially stupid thing I'm going to say is that the Irishness of Simon Harris seemed to me to be particularly pertinent to the point of being poignant this morning, because Ireland is a country, is an island that knows what it is like to have two parts of the same population committed to the destruction of each other. Two parts of the same people occupying more or less the same space under systems of partition, effectively, under armed borders over which it is difficult to cross. The island of Ireland, Irish politicians know what it is like to move towards the light and create a space in which the massive majority of those populations can live together in peace and harmony. So I wonder whether today is a day upon which to wonder whether Israel and Palestine can find a path that Unionists and Republicans in Ireland managed to find, culminating in the Good Friday Agreement. I don't know that stupid is fair. Perhaps I'm being horribly naive, but it certainly seems to me to be something that the countries now queuing up to recognise Palestinian statehood certainly believe and hope. I'm going to play you some words. I'm going to play you what Simon Harris was saying this morning, the Taoiseach, also joined by the other leaders of the coalition government, all three of them, holding a press conference this morning in which they, you'll hear him describe it as an important and historic day for Ireland and for Palestine. And I'd probably ask you, at the end of this little clip, why it is an important day, why it is an important and historic day for Ireland and for Palestine.
Today, Ireland, Norway and Spain are announcing that we recognise the state of Palestine. Each of us will now undertake whatever national steps are necessary to give effect to that decision. In the lead up to today's announcement, I've spoken with a number of other leaders and counterparts, and I'm confident that further countries will join us in taking this important step in the coming weeks. This is an historic and important day for Ireland and for Palestine. On the 21st of January 1919, Ireland asked the world to recognise our right to be an independent state. Our message to the free nations of the world was a plea for international recognition of our independence, emphasising our distinct national identity, our historical struggle, and our right to self-determination and justice. Today, we use the same language to support the recognition of Palestine as a state.
The history of occupation in Ireland being something which Simon Harris feels is pertinent to today's recognition of statehood for Palestine. Of course, there'll be plenty of people pointing out to me that technically Northern Ireland is still occupied by the British, but anybody of anyone close to my age or older will know that today on the island of Ireland we see levels of peace and harmony that were unimaginable when I was born. I mean, having an apostrophe in your name was grounds for abuse in school when I was a kid. I mean, fairly ignorant abuse. You would also get into trouble for wearing glasses or having ginger hair. It wasn't a deep-rooted historical scar, but it was nonetheless there. And that is why when Simon Harris speaks directly to the people of Israel, I think his words are worth listening to.
We are taking a significant political step. There will be reaction. There will be interpretations of its implications. But let us not lose sight of this fundamental truth. Children are innocent. The children of Israel, the children of Palestine, they deserve peace. It is long past time for a ceasefire. for the unconditional release of hostages, for unhindered access for humanitarian aid. There should be no further military incursion into Rafah. There should be no more Hamas or Hezbollah rockets fired at Israel. Civilians on all sides must be protected by international humanitarian law. Violence and hatred can only ever be a dead end. The only pathway to peace is political. The people of Palestine deserve a future filled with hope, a future defined by success instead of suffering, a future at peace. The people of Israel deserve the exact same thing. To the people of Israel, I say today, Ireland is resolute and unequivocal in fully recognising the State of Israel and Israel's right to exist securely and in peace with its neighbours. Let me be clear that Ireland condemns the barbaric massacre carried out by Hamas on the 7th of October last. Civilians attacked, murdered, hostages taken in the most brutal and terrifying of circumstances, including a young Israeli-Irish child. We call again for all hostages to be immediately returned to the arms of their loved ones. But let me also be clear, Hamas is not the Palestinian people. Today's decision to recognise Palestine is taken to help create a peaceful future. A two-state solution is the only way out of the generational cycles of violence, retaliation and resentment, where so many wrongs can never make a right.
And he is right, I think. A two-state solution is surely the only way out of the current impasse. And anybody upset or cross about the moves of Ireland, Spain and Norway this morning is being increasingly pushed towards a place where they will have to admit out loud that they are opposed to the two-state solution. Plenty of people, of course, in the Hamas leadership who are prepared to state that publicly. And one of the most unpleasant recent developments in Israel has been the number of people in Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet who have been prepared to state that publicly. But what is the alternative? If not a two-state solution, then a continuation of where we are now. And where we are now is catastrophic. A carnage on an apocalyptic scale unfolding in Gaza since the October the 7th atrocity. And that is why today feels like, and quite a few of you are sharing this thought. Chris writes, crikey, that's a powerful and beautiful speech. JLB writes, Ireland is also a country that was invaded, occupied and annexed, James. They know of what they speak. Hazel says Ireland is qualified to comment, having suffered 800 years of tyranny imposed upon them by their nearest neighbour. Palestine existed before and is entitled to exist again. This is really nice. We in Ireland know what it's like, James. We grew up in the Troubles. Ireland is a wonderful country now. There are still a small few on both sides, perhaps even in Parliament, but you can hear the old hate in one or two MPs and in the South, but I much prefer my country at peace. So how significant is this? 0345 6060 973. I want you to feel welcome on the programme if you don't like this move. I can't see at the moment how you can articulate that unhappiness without articulating opposition to a two-state solution and where that leaves Palestinian people. I don't know. It would either involve another sort of Nakba, wouldn't it? Another mass relocation, or something worse. If there is not to be a two-state solution in that corner of the world, then what would the alternative look like? We know that Hamas has expressed a dedication to the destruction of Israel in its current form, and we know that Benjamin Netanyahu has campaigned upon a river to the sea platform as the leader of Likud. But I sense that, as in Ireland, the mood or the minds of the population can sometimes move further and faster than the minds and the moods of the leaderships. Can you see parallels with Ireland? 0345 6060 973. I can, but it's possible I'm being a bit foolish or naive, in which case you usually relish the opportunity to set me straight. But the bigger question is, and whether you see it as a positive or a negative, I want you to tell me how significant you think this is, all right? Whether you see it and if you see it as a negative, you might have to work a little bit harder to explain to me why this shouldn't be welcomed by the international community, by Israelis and Palestinians alike, as a move towards a more peaceful future. But whether you see it as a positive or a negative, How significant is this? Because it feels like hair standing up on the back of your neck territory to me. For the people of Ireland or the leaders of Ireland to speak in those sort of terms suggests two things. It suggests a momentum is building that will be impossible to stop, and it suggests that Benjamin Netanyahu has got almost everything wrong. I mean, if you see his position as something that needs to be protected, it's now coming under attack from almost every corner. And I don't mean in Israel. I mean in the International Criminal Court in The Hague. I mean in the Spanish government, in the Norwegian government, in the Irish government. So how significant is it? 0345 6060 973. And a slightly more difficult question, but does Ireland provide a template, if you like, or does Ireland provide an inspiration for a peace process in Palestine and Israel?